The events of September 11, 2001 are etched into the collective memory of the entire world, with countless stories of heroism, tragedy, and resilience. However, among the many tales from that day, some lesser-known stories reveal the depth of human courage and the complex aftermath of the attacks. One such undertold story is that of Maritime Evacuation of Lower Manhattan, an unprecedented operation that became one of the largest boat lifts in history. On the morning of September 11, 2001, as the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center were struck, thousands of people in Lower Manhattan found themselves trapped. The streets were filled with chaos and debris, and as the buildings collapsed, the area became enveloped in a thick cloud of dust and smoke. The bridges and tunnels leading out of Manhattan were quickly closed for security reasons, leaving people with seemingly no way to escape the unfolding disaster. In this moment of crisis, an extraordinary and spontaneous rescue effort began by sea. The U.S. Coast Guard issued a radio call for available boats to assist in the evacuation of Manhattan. The call, it was simple but urgent. All available boats. This is the United States Coast Guard. Anyone wanting to help with the evacuation of Manhattan, report to Governor's Island. In response, hundreds of vessels of all types and sizes converged on the southern tip of Manhattan. Ferry boats, tugboats, private yachts, fishing boats, and even sightseeing vessels all raced to the scene. These civilian and commercial mariners, many of whom had no formal training in emergency response, worked together to evacuate over 500,000 people from Manhattan in less than 9 hours. What makes this story remarkable is the sheer spontaneity and scale of the operation. There was no prior plan for a maritime evacuation of this magnitude, yet it unfolded with incredible efficiency. Boat captains, crew members, and volunteers coordinated on the spot without formal direction to move people from the chaotic shores of Manhattan to safety in New Jersey, Staten Island, and Brooklyn. The boats made repeated trips, navigating through waters filled with debris and dealing with the constant threat of further attacks. People were taken aboard with no questions asked, covered in dust, many of them in shock, and all desperate to get away from the devastation. The boat operators demonstrated a profound sense of duty and solidarity, with everyone focused on saving as many lives as possible. For those who were rescued, the maritime evacuation was a lifeline in the midst of unimaginable horror. Many evacuees later recounted how the sight of the boats approaching the shoreline gave them a glimmer of hope in the darkest hour. The mariners themselves were often humble about their role, seeing that their actions were simply doing what was necessary at the time. One of the most striking aspects of this operation is how it showed the power of community, the willingness of ordinary people to step up in extraordinary circumstances. It was a moment where New Yorkers and those in the surrounding areas came together in unity, transcending the fear and confusion that gripped the city. Despite the scale and success of the maritime evacuation, it has remained a relatively untold story in the broader narrative of 9/11. It wasn't until years later that the full scope of the operation began to be recognized. In 2011, on the 10th anniversary of the attacks, the documentary Boatlift, narrated by Tom Hanks, brought greater awareness to this remarkable rescue effort. Today, the maritime evacuation of Lower Manhattan stands as a powerful reminder of the resilience and bravery that emerged on that fateful day. These are Interesting Things with JC.